The hesitant nod, the forced smile, the word yes leaving your lips while your soul is screaming no. And then comes the aftershock, a quiet, corrosive resentment that settles in your bones, a hollow ache in the center of your chest, the feeling of having given away a piece of yourself you can never get back. You tell yourself you are just being kind, helpful, a good person. But what if that kindness is a form of self-abandonment? What if your constant availability is not a virtue, but a prison? The great psychologist Carl Jung taught that the shadow contains everything we have exiled from our conscious personality. And for so many of us, especially the caregivers, the helpers, the peacekeepers, our most deeply exiled shadow is our own sacred no. We have been taught that a no is an act of aggression, a rejection, a closing door. But this is a profound misunderstanding. Your no is not a weapon against others. It is the guardian at the gate of your own soul. It is the fierce protector of your energy, your time, and your inner peace. And the exhaustion you feel is the sound of that guardian weeping. Today, we will not learn a communication trick. We will embark on a journey of soul reclamation. We will explore the deep, often trauma-related reasons why setting a boundary feels like a betrayal. We will learn to reframe the no from an act of selfishness to an act of sacred self-preservation. And I will offer you a compassionate, practical way to begin speaking your truth without guilt and without apology. It is time to honor the truth your soul has been whispering to you all along.
The most expensive word in the human language is not diamond or yacht. For the soul of the people-pleaser, it is the word yes. Because a yes spoken from a place of obligation is not a gift. It is a debt. A debt taken out against your own life force that is paid for with the slow, corrosive interest of resentment. This is the great unspoken tragedy of the nice person. The very relationships you are trying to preserve with your agreeableness are often the ones being quietly poisoned by it. Let's sit with Maria. She is a 42-year-old graphic designer, a woman with a generous heart and a schedule that is stretched to the breaking point. Her best friend calls, bubbling with excitement about a new passion project, a small business she's starting. And then comes the ask. I was wondering if you could just whip up a quick logo for me. You're so good at it, it would probably take you no time at all. And in that moment, a war breaks out inside Maria. Her body screams a silent, primal no. No, I have no time. No, I have no energy. No, my creativity is a resource, not a public utility. But the fawn response, her lifelong peacekeeping program, takes over. Her mouth opens, and what comes out is, of course, I'd be happy to. The moment the words are spoken, the warmth in her chest is replaced by a hollow ache. The connection she felt with her friend is now separated by an invisible wall. A wall built by her own yes, and the mortar holding that wall together is resentment. So where does this poison come from? This is where we must do the courageous work of looking into our own shadow. As Carl Jung taught, the shadow is the container for all the parts of ourselves we have deemed unacceptable. And for the people-pleaser, the most unacceptable, most deeply exiled parts are our own legitimate needs. The need for rest, the need for our time to be valued, the need for our work to be honored, the need to be cared for, not just to be the caregiver. We learn, often in childhood, that these needs are selfish, difficult, too much. So we perform a kind of psychic surgery on ourselves. We cut these needs away from our conscious identity, and we push them down into the darkness of the unconscious. But energy is never destroyed. A need that is exiled into the shadow does not simply disappear. It festers, it sours, and it reemerges disguised as resentment. Resentment is the shadow's distress signal. It is the cry of an exiled part of your soul reminding you that a boundary has been crossed. The low, simmering anger Maria feels is not truly at her friend for asking. It is the anger of her own exiled need for rest. The quiet bitterness she feels is not about a logo. It is the bitterness of her own exiled need to have her talent be seen as valuable, not just convenient. And most painfully, a significant part of that resentment is turned inward. Resentment at herself, for her own inability to protect her own needs, for being the one who once again unlocked the gate and allowed her own sacred inner garden to be trampled. This is the hidden cost of yes. The people-pleaser, in their desperate attempt to avoid external conflict, creates a devastating internal one. They become a house divided against itself. The conscious mind performs the role of the endlessly giving saint, while the unconscious shadow seethes in the basement, poisoning the foundations of the very house you are trying to present as peaceful. This is not a sustainable way to live. It is the architecture of burnout. It is a slow, quiet betrayal of the self. So we have identified the symptom, the exhaustion of resentment. We have identified the source, the exiled needs living in our shadow. But to truly heal this, we must go one layer deeper. We must ask the most important question of all. Why is the thought of disappointing someone more terrifying than the reality of betraying ourselves?
The answer to that question lies not in your character, but in your biology. Your fear of saying no is not a personal failing. It is a survival strategy, frozen in time. Deep within the oldest parts of your brain is a sophisticated security system designed with one purpose: to keep you alive. This system learns from experience, and for many of us, it learned a powerful lesson very early on. It learned that the world can be a volatile, unpredictable place. It learned that the anger or disappointment of a caregiver could feel like a threat to our very existence. So the nervous system, in its infinite wisdom, developed a brilliant adaptation. It created the fawn response, a state of being where you become a master at anticipating the needs of others. You learn to read the subtle shifts in a room. You become an expert at diffusing tension. You make yourself agreeable, helpful, and small. Because to be small and agreeable is to be invisible to danger. It is not a choice. It is a reflex. An involuntary state of being that is unconscious as pulling your hand away from a hot stove. Your inability to say no is not weakness. It is an echo of a time when saying no felt like a death sentence. Let's think about David, a 45-year-old high school history teacher. He is beloved by his students and staff because he is the man who never says no. He stays late to tutor. He volunteers for the difficult committees. He covers shifts for sick colleagues. And he is exhausted. He feels a quiet resentment that he cannot name. David grew up in a home with a volatile, alcoholic father. As a child, he learned that his own needs, for quiet, for attention, for play, were triggers for his father's rage. But he also learned something else. He learned that if he was the good boy, the quiet one, the helpful one, the one who never caused trouble, the storm might pass over him. His agreeableness was not a personality trait. It was a shield.
Now, as an adult, his father is long gone. His environment is safe. But the program is still running. His nervous system does not know the difference between his principal asking him to lead a new initiative and his father's heavy footsteps coming down the hall. The threat feels the same, and so the response is the same. Say yes, keep the peace, survive. This is the heart of the shadow work we must do. We must, with great compassion, acknowledge that this pattern was born of a need to protect us. We must thank this younger part of ourselves for its brilliant strategy. And then we must gently inform it that the war is over. So how do we begin to rewrite this ancient code? We start by reframing the very nature of no. What if a no is not a wall you build to push others away? What if it's a fence you build to protect your own sacred garden? A garden where your energy, your creativity, and your peace can finally have the space to grow. A no to an external request is often a profound yes to an internal need. A no to working late is a yes to dinner with your family. A no to a draining social event is a yes to the restorative silence your soul is crying out for. A no to doing something for free is a yes to honoring the value of your own time and talent. It is not an act of rejection, it is an act of selection. You are selecting your own well-being. To begin this practice, we don't need a dramatic confrontation. We need a simple, compassionate formula, a tool to help you navigate these moments when the old program kicks in. Let's call it the compassionate boundary. It has 2, sometimes 3, simple steps. The first step is to acknowledge. You validate the other person's request. This immediately diffuses tension. It shows you have heard them. It can be as simple as, "Thank you so much for thinking of me for this," or "I really appreciate you trusting me with that." The second and most crucial step is to state your truth simply and without apology. This is not the time for a long explanation or a list of excuses. Excuses are just a negotiation in disguise. They invite debate. Your truth is not up for debate. It is a simple statement of your capacity. I don't have the capacity for that right now. My plate is completely full at the moment. I'm not able to take on any new projects. Notice what is missing: the word sorry. You do not need to apologize for the limits of your energy. The third and optional step is to offer an alternative, if and only if it feels genuine. This is not about appeasing. It is about preserving the connection in a way that still honors your boundary. I can't help with the logo right now, but I know a great freelancer I can recommend. I can't join that committee, but I would be happy to contribute my thoughts in a single email. This is not a formula to be memorized like a script. It is a new way of thinking, a framework that honors both the other person and, most importantly, yourself. It is a practice, and it is the beginning of teaching your nervous system a new truth. The truth that you can be safe and be yourself at the same time.
Knowledge is a map, but it is not the territory. You can understand the theory of boundaries intellectually for a lifetime, but true change only happens in the landscape of your own life. It happens in the moment you choose to honor the map. The journey to reclaiming your inner authority begins not with a grand declaration, but with a single, quiet, courageous act. A single, sacred no. Let's go back to Maria, our designer, drowning in the resentment of her own yes. She spent the week feeling the familiar, toxic cocktail of guilt and anger. She feels guilty for feeling angry at her friend, and she feels angry at herself for feeling guilty. It is a perfect, self-sustaining prison of misery.
But this time, something is different. She has the map. She has the formula. She has a new understanding that her resentment is a message from her own exiled shadow. So she does something terrifying. She chooses to act. She picks up the phone. Her heart is hammering against her ribs. Her nervous system is screaming, "Danger! Abort mission!" But she takes a somatic sigh, a long, slow exhale to signal a sliver of safety, and she makes the call. She uses the formula. She acknowledges, "Hey, I've been thinking about the logo, and I'm so honored you thought of me." She states her truth, simply. "But after sitting with it, I've realized my plate is overflowing right now, and I won't be able to give it the attention it deserves. I have to say no." She braces for the impact, the anger, the disappointment. But what she hears on the other end of the line is understanding. "Oh, Maria, of course. I'm so sorry. I should have realized how swamped you are. Don't even worry about it. Our friendship is more important." And in that moment, the invisible wall between them does not get higher. It dissolves. The resentment that had been poisoning the connection vanishes, and it is replaced by a profound, surprising intimacy, the intimacy that is only possible through honesty. Maria hangs up the phone. She feels the adrenaline receding, and in its place, a new feeling begins to rise. It is a quiet, warm, expansive feeling. It is the feeling of her conscious self and her shadow self finally being on the same team. That feeling is the true meaning of peace. This is the great paradox that the people pleaser must learn. Your agreeableness does not guarantee connection. Often it prevents it. Because true connection is not built on performance, it is built on authenticity. People cannot truly connect with the mask you are wearing. They can only connect with the real, flawed, beautiful human being underneath. And that human being has needs, has limits, has a voice. Every time you honor your sacred no, you are not pushing someone away. You are inviting them to meet the real you. Some people may not like the real you. They may have grown accustomed to the convenience of your compliance. And when you set a boundary, those relationships may shift or even fall away. And that will be painful. But it is a necessary, healing pain. It is the pain of pruning a garden so that the things that are meant to grow can finally have enough light. You are making space for the people who will love you not in spite of your boundaries, but because of them. The people who will respect your no because they trust the integrity of your yes. This is the profound alchemy of shadow work, a concept so central to the teachings of Carl Jung. By turning towards the part of you that you have feared and exiled, your need to say no, you do not become a worse person. You become a more integrated one. You are taking the raw, chaotic energy of your shadow, the resentment, the bitterness, and you are transforming it. You are alchemizing it into the gold of self-respect, clarity, and authentic connection. This is not an easy path. It is the work of a lifetime. It is a practice, not a perfection. There will be times you say yes when you mean no, and in those moments, the invitation is not for self-criticism. It is for self-compassion. It is to place a hand on your heart and say, "I see you. You were scared. We will try again." Because every single choice is a new opportunity to honor your soul's truth, to build the muscle of self-loyalty, to slowly, patiently, and fiercely reclaim the authority over your own life.
Today, we have stood at one of the most sacred crossroads of the human soul, the intersection between the desire to connect and the need to protect. We have unmasked the hidden cost of the agreeable yes, revealing it not as a gesture of kindness, but often as a quiet act of self-betrayal, paid for with the currency of resentment. We have journeyed into the heart of our shadow, guided by the wisdom of Carl Jung, to understand that our inability to say no is not a character flaw. It is a trauma response, a brilliant, outdated survival strategy that no longer serves us. But we did not leave ourselves in the darkness of understanding. We stepped into the light of practice. We learned to reframe the no not as a closing door, but as a sacred fence around the garden of our inner peace. We were given a tool, the compassionate boundary, to begin speaking our truth with clarity and without apology. We saw through Maria that an honest no does not destroy connection. It clarifies it. It makes real, authentic intimacy possible. The journey to honoring your soul's truth is the very essence of shadow work. It is the courageous process of reclaiming the parts of you that you were taught to exile. It is learning to trust the wisdom of your own body, the wisdom of your own discomfort. It is the slow, steady, and revolutionary act of choosing yourself. You do not have to earn your right to rest. You do not have to justify your need for peace. You do not need anyone's permission to honor the limits of your own beautiful human energy. Your boundaries are not a negotiation. They are a declaration that you are worthy of your own care. And as you become more skilled at protecting your own sacred space, as you learn to say no to the things that drain you, you will find yourself with a new kind of spaciousness in your life, a new quiet. And in that quiet, a deeper, more vulnerable question will begin to surface. It is one thing to set a boundary with others. It is another thing entirely to let someone pass that boundary into the deepest, most authentic parts of yourself. Why do we, even after creating a safe space, still resist true, profound connection? Why do we push people away just when intimacy becomes real? That is the next courageous step in our journey together, to stand before Jung's authentic mirror and understand why we avoid the very connections our souls crave the most. That is the deep exploration we will begin in our next conversation. For this week, your invitation is not to change your whole life. It is to begin with one single whisper of truth. Identify one small, low-stakes area where your soul has been longing to say no. Perhaps it's no to checking your work email after dinner. Perhaps it's no to a social plan you feel obligated to attend. Perhaps it's just a no to your own inner critic for 5 minutes. To make this sacred intention real, I invite you to declare your commitment in the comments below. You do not need to share the specifics. Simply write, "I will honor my truth." By doing so, you join a chorus of voices from around the world who are no longer willing to betray themselves for the sake of peace. They are learning that true peace is the quiet, unshakable result of honoring the truth of their own soul.